these leaders that they call leaders. This included comedians, comics. These aren't leaders. These are puppets and clowns that usually say exactly what they know that the white man wants to hear.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we said you're a great father up top. First thing you say is, I've got great kids. You didn't take credit. And then your entire answer, and I thought this was really cool, your entire answer is about how great your kids are. That was a very cool thing.
Thank you. That's very nice. I think I like this interview. I think
If you are just waking up right now, NBC News now officially projecting that Donald Trump has won the presidency.
This group influenced the presidential election of 2024.
Yo, listen. Don't even say influence. We decided.
We were the turning point.
Just know he was not up until this pod.
It's true.
After the pod, he surges, what, 3 or 4%?
Yeah, it was a wrap, dude.
Never went back down after that.
Images of MAGA supporters literally burning their red MAGA hats are going viral online. And all of this comes a day after Trump berated Republicans as, quote, stupid and foolish for wanting more information about the disgraced financier who died by suicide while in federal custody.
You know what I'm getting a lot of? You talked to him, you platformed him, as if he was at 0%. And then we talked to him and then he won the election. As if he had fucking no shot of winning.
Hold on.
People were like, this guy's a monster, he's not a human being. Then we humanize him. That's what he keeps saying.
Since all this drama with the Epstein files, I've noticed that a few of these podcaster comedians have been speaking out against their little buddy Donald Trump. And no one's played the situation worse than this guy.
Like, there'll be people that they'll DM me and be like, you see what your boy's doing? You voted for this. I'm like, I voted for none of this. He's doing the exact opposite of everything I voted for.
Yeah.
I want him to stop the wars. He's funding them. I want him to shrink spending, reduce the budget. He's increasing it. It's like everything that he said he's going to do, except sending immigrants back.
And as soon as little Andy posted this genius revelation, to his surprise, his audience wasn't immediately kissing his ass, but instead was calling him out for taking 8 months to figure out the most obvious shit of all time. Saying things like,
not being able to see through Trump's blatant bullshit for 10 years is honestly baffling at this point.
You endorsed him proudly. You wore the red hat, posted the memes, excused the cruelty, justified the lies. You stood by when others were silenced, targeted, dehumanized. And now, after all the damage, you're shocked.
After seeing the dislikes and the negative comments, because Andrew sucks as much ass as he does, instead of acknowledging that he was possibly wrong about anything, he turns the camera on a few days later to say this.
What's up, everybody? Apparently we ruined America. We were trying to hold the person in power, President Trump, accountable for not fulfilling some of his promises, and that was foolish, man.
Nah, you're an idiot,
That
dude.
was
You're
a
bad
foolish
person.
thing to do. Once you vote for somebody, no matter what they do, even if it's the exact opposite of what they say they're gonna do, you just ride that until the wheels fall off.
Yes. See, this is why Andrew is such a weaselly little bitch to me. No rational person is making the argument that once you vote for Trump, you can never criticize him and you can never change your mind. What people are saying is for you to be shocked by what Trump is doing and for you to say that this isn't what you voted for, it's bullshit. The signs were there for anybody who was paying any kind of attention, and this little speech just feels like a pathetic way to try and save face. Because instead of trying to take any sort of accountability, you're acting like a victim who was blindsided. Donald Trump was president before. You forget that? And he did 0 things in his first term that would make any sort of rational adult believe that he was capable of ending any wars or decreasing the deficit. When it comes to ending wars, if you really believe that Donald Trump has any sort of respect from any of these foreign leaders, you're delusional. As soon as it was announced that he won, Putin had Russian state TV playing pictures of Donald Trump's naked wife.
Nude photos of Melania Trump have been aired on Russia's most watched state TV channel during a program supposedly dedicated to celebrating Trump's election victory.
You think this is a guy who gives a about what Donald Trump thinks or feels? Of course not. He has 0 respect for it. Also, Donald Trump is the guy in his first term who increased drone strikes by over 400%. So again, what the fuck would make you think that this was the guy who was going to end a war, let alone 2? When he was president the first time, he increased the deficit more than almost any other president in American history. And that was after inheriting an economy that was pretty good. So yeah, when you turn the camera on and say, this isn't what I voted for, people are gonna make fun of you, as they should. you look stupid. If you had decided to take any accountability and was just like, you know what, guys, clearly Trump is a liar. I should have known that. That's my bad. Let's try to move forward. If you had said anything close to that, people wouldn't have cared as much. But because you're an insufferable asshole, you don't do that and instead decide to double down on why voting for Trump was so smart.
But I don't regret it at all. I don't even regret voting for him at all. Because what you see is all these Democrats that are starting to take up the issues that he was the one campaigning on.
Ooh.
So essentially what he's done is pull the Democrat Party over to the center. So if they start talking about these issues, Ro Khanna, who we have on later on this podcast, and then we got Ro Khanna, who's pushing up this bill in Congress right now where he wants to release the entire unredacted Epstein files.
Yeah.
He doesn't even realize like how much of an out of touch privileged asshole he is when he talks like this. And for whichever one of his ethnic ball coddlers was that hit that ooh. Yeah, fuck you too. Trump hasn't even been president 9 months, and we're already at the point where we've sent hundreds of people to a crazy super prison in another country where I think it was up to 70 to 90% of them have no criminal history. We have ICE arresting people at their own immigration hearings. The tariffs, one of those two things that Donald Trump actually ran on, Walmart already said, yeah, we already increased prices in June to prepare for this bullshit. So shit's more expensive now for no fucking reason. And we fired hundreds of thousands of government employees, including people who are, I don't know, in charge of telling us about floods in Texas. And you, the obnoxious, wealthy entertainer, say you don't regret your vote because now the Democrats are talking about releasing the Epstein files. And you wonder why people don't fucking like you. Now, for those of you guys who know me, you know I'm not one to spend money on things. I mean, I've been wearing these same 5 t-shirts throughout every single one of my videos, but when I find a good deal, I take advantage. And this Extra Wallet Pro is a great deal. Especially now. Out of the gate, it's backed with a lifetime guarantee, so if you get this wallet, you'll never have to buy a wallet again. So in my eyes, it's already way more valuable than anything any of these luxury brands are trying to sell you. Extra is giving everybody up to 32% off until August 4th. But if you use my code KAHMAL, K-A-H-M-A-L, at checkout, you can save an extra 10%. So go ahead and check out the Extra Wallet Pro. Thank you again to Extra for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to the world's biggest clown. So because Andrew and his group of human laugh tracks started to feel the heat after their epiphany that the known liar might have lied, they had on the guys from the Pod Save America podcast. I guess these guys used to work with Obama back in the day and now they have a podcast because of course they do. But anyway, listen to what Andrew says here.
It was a bit of a media storm that happened after some criticisms that I had over Trump. And I had John, and I was like, John, like, am I off on this? Like, what is the best way to handle like somebody that I voted for that is not living up to their promises? I'm criticizing them. And some responses are, well, yeah, you're a fucking idiot. And I was like, I don't know if that's the best way to build a coalition.
First off, bitch, what are you talking about build a coalition? You just said you don't even regret voting for the guy that's causing all this bullshit. Unlike those losers sitting next to you, you don't pay us to kiss your ass and laugh at your dog shit jokes.
You gotta call it heckling. Call it heckling.
So when you say stupid bullshit, we're gonna call you out on it. That's how the internet works. Grow the up. Also, I'm pretty sure that no one running for president or Congress is in your comment section trying to hurt your little feelings. So why would you let what these people are saying change how you decide to vote or who you decide to support? Does that make sense? This is what's wrong with these comedians in politics. They correlate things that they read on Twitter and in their comment sections with people who work in government. If you want to criticize the Democratic Party, there's plenty of things to choose from, but please don't use your comment section or some college kid on TikTok as a way to do it, because that's fucking stupid. I've seen that little creep Tony Hinchcliffe do a similar thing in that bullshit Twitter video people call a comedy special.
I've never considered myself a very political guy. But about a month before all this happened, we found out from YouTube that there's new words that they want us to censor. New words that you have to bleep out, or you don't make money anymore.
What's the logic there? You think Joe Biden's like picking up the phone, calling Susan and being like, no comedians can use these 4 words ever again, okay, Susan? Okay, like this is a priority. If you want to criticize Joe Biden, but use your head. You sound like a fucking idiot. And to this point,
I was like, I don't know if that's the best way to build a coalition. What do you think? What do you think about that, John?
No, that shit drives me nuts because I think, first of all, Trump lies a lot. He's always lied a lot. And it also assumes that every single person in America was supposed to be paying attention to like every single word that Donald Trump has ever said.
Right. Yeah, I guess it's possible for the average person to fall for these lies if they weren't paying any kind of attention. But we're not talking about the average person. We're talking about multimillionaires who have huge audiences and decided to make their podcast a political one. Nobody is putting a gun to their head, forcing them to sit down with politicians and billionaires. That's what they wanted to do. And to Andrew's original point, as much as I'd love to trash on the people that voted for this man and call them stupid, I do realize that if we're gonna make it better, we're gonna need a lot of the people who voted for Trump. And I'm torn on what I'm seeing right now because I do see Trump squirming, and I have to give credit to people like Andrew who voted for Trump but are now starting to see the light. These people have been holding Trump's feet to the fire about this Epstein shit, and it's really just becoming more and more obvious how corrupt he is. And that's a good thing. But also, I can't ignore the side of my brain that thinks, really, this is what made you see the light, Andrew? You really thought that the guy who was best friends with the most famous child sex trafficker of all time was not only definitely not on this Epstein list, but was also going to be the one to drain the swamp and expose all these corrupt billionaire pedophiles? Really? This guy?
By the way, your daughter.
She's beautiful.
Can I say this? A piece of ass. Yeah. She looks more voluptuous than ever.
She's actually always been very voluptuous.
The man who's been publicly accused of groping women with Jeffrey Epstein, the guy who bragged about going into women's locker rooms because he owns the pageant to be a creep and look at them when they're naked, that guy?
Well, I'll tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that
You're like
everything
a
is
doctor.
good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible-looking women. And so I sort of get away with things like that.
You thought that was going to be the guy who was going to bring down all the sick perverts, really? Like, what the fuck were you? What? Bro, what? But anyway, unfortunately for all of us, Andrew Schulz is not the only podcast comedian who's coping with this Trump and Epstein shit. Because Andrew and Tim Dillon both believe that it's very possible that the only reason Trump hasn't released all these files is not because he's on the list, but because the FBI or the CIA is threatening Trump's life.
I think Trump knows they'll kill him. I believe he knows that. I believe he knows that the people that killed all of those people would find a way to kill him if this came out.
They could have come up to him and be like, we missed on purpose, right? The guy who had the perfect shot on you from 100 meters away or whatever, like, we missed on purpose. You didn't look at a sign. Looking at the sign got you closer. But we missed on purpose. And we won't the next time, unless you tell people to look the other way about this Epstein shit. To me, I would not be surprised at all if the CIA and the FBI actually are running the country.
Aren't these people like really politically invested? Don't they pretend to be politically invested? Don't they know that Donald Trump is the one who appointed the head of the FBI and the head of the CIA? Like, I'm confused. To their fans who are watching this, can you guys explain to me, like, do they really think Kash Patel, the guy who wrote a children's book where Donald Trump was the hero, do they really think that that guy's pulling Trump into a dark corner and threatening to kill him if he releases the Epstein files? Or do they think it's Tulsi Gabbard, the other loyalist who's nowhere near qualified to do what she's doing? The one that said that there was no intel that Iran was making a nuke, but then Trump said that there was, so then she changed her mind and said that there was. Is that the one who's strong-arming Trump? You think they're really calling the shot? Tim, do you believe that, or did somebody tell you to say that? Because I feel like somebody told you to say that.
I'm going to tell you about a dinner I had with a member of the administration. I'm going to tell you everything that I know, and I'm going to say the things that I do not know. And I am also not going to attest to the veracity, Google it, of the information. When Pam Bondi came out and said, I have 10,000 hours of evidence, what has been told to me is that that is Epstein downloaded from the internet. It is not the tapes of powerful people in compromising positions.
I guess it was just Hub, dude. My bad. What were we thinking? All he was just watching the Hub, dude. He just had a hard drive of downloaded internet porn. That's very logical. There's no tapes of anyone powerful. That makes perfect sense. It's so interesting to me that these people that were always saying, the government's not trustworthy, the government's not trustworthy, now they're sitting down and having dinner with the most corrupt government I've seen in America and repeating their talking points to their audiences. Why do you guys think that that's happening? When I think of like the Tim Dillon, the Andrew Schultz, the Theo, I think of people who are desperate for validation, attention, and money. And I can't say that I'm shocked that they're handling like politics and power awfully. When I was younger, when I thought of a comedian, I thought of somebody whose job it was to criticize or to point out the aspects of our culture that were nonsensical and that we can improve on. You know, like that's what I felt like a good comedian's job was. I would think of somebody like a George Carlin, Bill Burr in his prime, like they called out the bullshit in our culture. But these comedians are not only that bullshit, but they're literally the mouthpieces for some of the most disgusting people on this planet. And it's gross, but it's not surprising. Thinking about it in hindsight, it makes perfect sense why Donald Trump would want to be on their podcast. It's already been said that he was ducking anybody who was going to ask him real questions.
I'm telling you guys, this did happen. Like, I had multiple Trump interview requests in, and they were basically like, no. And I heard it off the record. Yeah. It's like, bro, you're going to ask him 2 hard questions. Like, this, it was quite literally told to me, right? Yeah. Now, I mean, there's a reason he's going on Theo Vaughn and all, and other places, because they didn't think that was going to happen.
And these people were the perfect marks. They stand for nothing. They're cowards and they're stupid. He knew that they weren't going to press him on anything. You see losers like Akash so worried about this man walking off the set that he's afraid to ask him a genuine question.
I could do the thing that feels really good, where I ask a gotcha question and I dunk on you, and then he gets up and he walks off and he says, go fuck yourself. I know, I've seen enough interviews with this guy to know I have to relate to him on a human level, and then when he feels safe, maybe he'll answer the questions I want to ask.
You are a bitch.
Please stop getting any sort of important or political information from these people. They don't give a fuck. I mean, look how Andrew responds when asked about how he handled the Trump interview.
In your interview with Donald Trump, do you feel like you did sort of the necessary work of asking him difficult questions?
Do you think that's necessary?
Yes.
What I'd like to see more is people asking the questions that they are curious about themselves, instead of trying to pander to what their audience is curious about.
Nigga, what?
Imagine you watching right now. If you had the opportunity to interview a presidential candidate, could you honestly imagine caring that little about what your audience wants to know? During a presidential election, to think of that as pandering? This is how disconnected these people are. They're broken. I wish I could say that their audience has figured it out and they're not going to talk to politicians anymore, but that would be a lie. My guess is that as Trump becomes more and more like openly corrupt, more people will figure it out that this guy's a psychopath, and these comedians are just going to have on like more left-leaning people. Like clearly the Democratic Party figured out that they fucked up by not going on these podcasts, and I think we're going to see more people like Pete Buttigieg and Bernie and probably around during primaries. So, and if you guys are wondering why I didn't mention Joe in this video, that's because I gave him his own separate video. That's on its way. If you want to watch it, it's actually on my Patreon right now for free. So you can go watch that before it comes out. Uncensored. You're welcome. Since I know I'm late on that. But yeah, let's just stop acting like these people give a fuck or like they're qualified to say anything that's important.